Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Today's
My
been
audio? Is my audio like okay?
no, yeah, it's perfect.
I have the AC on and stuff.
Oh, AC. Yeah, I need to I need to get one of those. It's hot as fuck today. How have you been?
Good, 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 good. Little hungover.
You said what?
A little hungover, not gonna lie.
Hey, what happened yesterday? Yesterday, that wasn't the car thing with Alex, was it?
It
That was the day
was
before.
it was like it was Puerto Rican
Oh
Day,
shit, you
American
ran
flag.
around. Nice. Yeah, I was like popping around and there were like little areas that were all blocked off and stuff and I was like,
Yeah,
"But
very fun. Yeah, what were you up to yesterday?
yesterday I went to some gallery. It was Pioneer Works.
Oh, and Red Hook?
Yeah, yeah, Red Hook.
Yeah, I was over there last weekend. I don't think it was this gallery right next to it. They were having this really good show, the Genesis Peorage, like Briar Peorage
No, yeah.
show.
That
Did
was the
you see
one. That's
that?
that's the new
You
Pioneer
went?
Work. Yeah, yeah, that was crazy.
You saw that?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you a Psychic TV fan or what?
No, so I actually didn't even know that was happening. I know about Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah, I love Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah,
Is that both of them? Because it's like a
I
million
I
groups.
know it's Genesis, and that was like
Mm-hmm.
early stuff,
Super old.
But yeah, that's how I'm familiar. Very separate from I just saw Genesis, and I was like, wait a second. I was like, is this the person from Throbbing? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I um kind of held back from telling because I brought my friend August and I kind of held back from, telling them about the whole like background of it. I was like, I'm gonna let them like get into it there
uh,
because they have the whole background piece of writing
yeah, yeah,
on
it
it.
was
I
a
was like, I'm
totally
gonna let
different
them
thing.
experience it. Yeah. And it looked amazing. That sort of video, all the writing,
Oh
and like
yeah, yeah. It was like it was that was literally what do you call it? Active imagination. That's exactly the same thing.
I thought of that. This is insane. I was explaining active imagination to my friend August. I was like, this is like, ruins, but like blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, like improv. It was like the same conversation we had. It was
Yeah,
so funny.
yeah. There was a lot of crazy like relevant thoughts like in
Mm-hmm.
that show that I had no. I was like very shocked because I've been like looking into a little bit of like the themes of that stuff, but like completely unrelated. Like how like the whole theme of the exhibit, or at least I don't know if that was like a collection of work that was all released around the same time, or that was just manifesto stuff over a long period
Yeah,
of time.
yeah. I think it's like because like all of those surgeries and stuff. I think took a
Yeah,
long
true.
time, so it was more of like an extended, almost performance. Yeah, extended
Yeah,
um, project that they participated in.
yeah, it was crazy because like there were kind of like the whole thing with like androgyny and like it was for I forget what the name of the thing that they coined the name of for their like movement or something, but it was like
What pandrogyny or something?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That was like the literal form of like alchemy's like union between the two genders, and that being like becoming an enlightened person, or something like that. But that was it was like past that and like removing the, or I don't know, just breaking down the physical self, just
Mm-hmm.
and then just yeah, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that
No,
was so
totally.
fucking crazy.
Those little like dope looking glass alchemy bottles in that little like frame. When they were like full of hair
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And that's totally what you're talking about, that like, cooking together of like two spirits, because their whole thing was like the two spirit, but like one sort of body, like kind of cooking together their dual essences into like one
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's why they were kind of like really.
Oh, hold on, my internet's trash. We paused up. Who can I kick off the Wi-Fi? Am I on the Wi-Fi? Are we back? Hey,
You're
there we
back?
go.
There you
Yeah.
go. You're moving. He's awake.
Yeah, I was a little sleepy. Oh yeah, but yeah, that whole thing was wild.
That was an amazing show.
Like,
Yeah.
and the setup of like that there were some like Christian vibes with the pews in that room with that symbol on there. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that big, what, like
Oh,
shrine.
yeah, that was fucking crazy.
My favorite had to be some of
Like
the
an
like,
altar.
yeah, the altar looked nuts, but those like sort of Byzantine gold leaf portraits, like the one all the way in the back of Genesis,
Oh, with the
was
crucifixion kind of.
insane. Yeah, because it reminded me of I forgot the name of the artist, but he did that painting with like elephant dung, and it was in like, I think this big like Saatchi art show a while ago, but it was like the Virgin Mary, but it had like these tiny cutouts of like butts and like boobs and stuff like that everywhere, but it was really small, and it was like 5x7 canvas.
Ooh, there's an artist that I need to send you that reminded me of, but that'll do that later. What were the themes that this guy was playing with?
Yeah, just I think de-Eurocentrizing a lot of painting and material, like it was using real elephant dung in the painting. It was like
Oh
dried
shit.
and stuff, and everyone was like, he's using poop to paint the Virgin Mary. That's so disrespectful. But it's like, no, like in African culture, like dung is very useful, and like it's very sort of spiritual because it's so like nutrient and like life-giving, and has all these properties that are life-giving, like the Virgin Mary. So it's like recontextualizing that and like expanding that.
Oh yeah, the different uh, symbolic meaning of it's a material at the end of the day, you know.
Mm-hmm. Chrysophili, Ophili, the Holy Virgin Mary.
Let me see.
Dope. It's that same gold leaf too. So you get this like boom, high impact gold visual, and then like you get closer, and then you're seeing these like tiny butts and this like really powerful image in the middle. So I like that, like seeing a painting from like 10 feet away, and you're like, oh, that's cool, and like it's a lady, or
Yeah.
it's like Genesis crucified, like
And
that's
then you move
cool.
closer, and then you're like, oh wow, okay. There's a lot in here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a double viewing experience.
That's cool. But what about your work?
Yeah, I was working on this today.
Whoa, active, active worker. No break.
I was like trying to wash my hands. That's what I was doing. But this, I did the background on this today. Horrible lighting.
Whoa. What's your process?
Yeah, this is stretched with like pins. So this is just canvas that's like not. bound or any. I don't know. It's just like kind
Yeah.
of on this plastic paint drop cloth, and then this is just oil paint. This
Oh.
one's thinned out so I could get more of a soft effect, but this is like oil stick, so it's very like you just
Ooh, it's like textured.
yeah, it's kind of textured. This one, it's like the project that's taking forever.
It's
Like
it's it's running you through it. It's
yeah, a
like, when is this
million
thing gonna
weeks.
resolve itself?
Exactly. Exactly. I just keep layering over it, and like one of these days it's just gonna work.
That's when it gets interesting though. I'm
That's
not.
what sucks. Some of the best things I've made, it's like that like long haul, and you're just
It's
like,
like you don't know it,
where?
but there's like 40 different pieces behind this.
Totally. You know, they do those X-ray scans of like old ass paintings, and there's like, yeah, he moved this hand like 3 times. Like there wasn't a hand here, and like whatever. And you can see
Ooh,
like the old first layers.
yeah, that's the
Bad.
interesting thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Totally.
But that's pretty cool. I've always wanted to interrogate you on your thing, but maybe I'll interrogate you later. You're in the hot seat already, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, ma'am.
No, totally. Yeah. What have you been working on? What's the post sleeping video? Like, how long did that take you to like put together the like sleeping cam video?
Oh,
That thing was awesome.
so it just takes like 10 minutes for me to like stick the thing on the ceiling. I still got the tape up there. You see that?
Yeah.
Probably need to take that down, but I'm going on vacation, so I got to do another one for this month, like early.
Mm,
But it doesn't really take long. The idea really just came from like, I don't know, I just wanted to do something, you know. I'm a firm believer in making a bunch of like small, like baby things just to kind of like keep
mm,
the momentum, you know. And then
right,
from that
right.
momentum, I can make more serious things. But it still has the spirit of what I'm interested in involved. And it's just like, yeah, glorifying the mundane, you know?
Totally. Very fluxy. Like I got like flux vibes from it because it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
using tech in a way like to kind of yeah, just like display something that it's like you kind of don't really even see that too, like sleeping like for that stretch of time or like moving in your sleep. Like it's a very like
It's
weird
intimate and it's
thing. Yeah.
personal.
Yeah. It's like the idea of sleep too. It's like it's so much time.
Yeah, and it's like it's I think 30 megabytes. It's like a lot of memory that it takes
Right.
to to do it, and then you just upload it like it's an actual valuable thing from like
Mm.
uploading to YouTube's kind of frame of reference. Like you it's like online space is reserved for the extraordinary, like you put things on there that will grab people's attention. I'm just
Right.
putting like a video of me sleeping and snoring. I'm always
I
scared I'm gonna like fart in my sleep or something.
I love that anonymity though. It's like I could just like imagine in like 20, 30 years, someone like finding these tapes with like kind of no, like no information. It's just
Yeah.
like this guy is sleeping. And does he have like a health problem with this? Like, because when they do like sleep studies or whatever, they
Yeah,
figure out like
yeah,
sleep
yeah.
apnea, or is it like a paranormal activity kind of thing where he's like watching
It's like, is
himself
something gonna
sleep?
happen? Like, it's
Yeah,
it's like
it's
it's
very
like in the movie Her.
suspenseful. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You ever
yeah,
seen Her? A lot of inspiration there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But hopefully, I recently had an idea the other day, about like the writer's process, because I'm like
Mm,
very like interested in writing and like essays and stuff like that, because that's like the harder way to kind of glorify mundane things, because I feel like the best writers are guys who I have a book. It's like a French dude who writes about like just every like he wrote about like wrestling. he wrote about like a barber shop, he wrote about all of these
Mm.
random things, and he just stretches it out and he makes it so like extraordinary. But I mean, they're good at that. I'm more interested in the things being mundane in themselves, but I'm rambling now. But
No, totally. And the French do a great job of like over explaining
yeah.
and and I'm reading, I mean, I personally love Henri de Balzac's work because he does that to a point of absurdity, which is
What's
really
his name?
funny. Henri, like honor with an E at the end, and Balzac with a Z, Balzac. And
Mm.
he's like, you know, explaining like he'll, you know, like sort of that Russian thing where it's like, oh, like they bring up this character and then they explain like their whole life and like the entire backstory
It
to.
was the book that you were showing me with it was like from
I
writing from like his childhood, from the childhood's perspective.
Oh, that I just kind of finished that one. The
That's a different guy
James
though.
Joyce, yeah, the James
Oh,
Joyce
okay,
guy.
okay.
Yeah, he talks a little bit about that as well. How writing, yeah, and I guess you know art in general. You know, you're either sort of directly because like you know with writing you're not usually physically there as an author, but you're kind
Mm.
of trying to maintain this like presence through the work, you know, or this you know idea of clarity or whatever it may be like to
Yeah.
the audience. But
Like a
then there's
style of some sort.
right. So there's and you kind of categorize it in a way where it's like, you know, when you're doing writing or visual art, like painting, you're using writing or painting as a conduit or like a bridge between you and the audience. Because
Mm.
like you're not physically there. So the work is sort of like a, you know, speaking for you, or, you know, if you're
Yeah.
using
It's
language
the
or visual or
disembodied
whatever.
voice that
Disembodied
you're
voice
crafting.
versus yeah like I guess music is sort of in between because you could argue that with live performance you're physically there and like theater or whatever like those types of arts you're not as so you're physically present so it's not like you
Mm.
know the boundary is like
So,
less
so I like where you're going with
present,
that because like
right.
the thing that I'm interested in with the writers is what does it look like when they are writing? Because like I'm like
Mm,
the thing that I'm interested in is the process, and it's the
mm-hmm,
mundane things that create the thing that the amazing creations are from, you know? And it's like you never see outside of movies the writer writing, you know?
mm-hmm.
Like your favorite writer, their process is just a verbal thing that you have to paint a picture of, you know? Because like right now I'm trying to learn Blender, which is like some 3D
Oh
modeling thing. Yeah, that shit
yeah
sucks.
man, I'm sorry,
And
it does suck.
I've gotten at a space where I can kind of understand workflows. Like so if I watch a YouTube video now, like I can steal stuff from the
Right.
people. But you can't do that with writers because you never see what their process looks like. Maybe unless you're in the editor's room, but if it's just the writer writing, you don't see
Mm-hmm.
what sentences they remove and replace. So I'm interested in like what that would look like as a recorded process. Because like visual artists have like time lapses or stuff like
Mm.
that, you know. But like no narrative, just kind of them producing and like they're like fuck, you know, and they erase or like taking it from paper to computer and what the fuck is that, you know? I want to steal some stuff from them, you know? They're so gatekeepy.
Dude, I had to do like that, this, yeah, the long forms like thesis writing like thing. And you, yeah, you really get into this like writing, you know, headspace. And the process isn't, I like, I think that really showed me the process because beforehand, you know, I would just vomit something out. I would not
Active
I was
imagination.
not a drafter, you know. I was like, I write it, it's out of my life. You know what I mean? And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like perfect, but I was like not interested in perfection. I was like, this is enough
Oh,
clarity. It was kind of more utilitarian. And then when you're getting into that, um, like next level, like I would argue the process is the, you know, uh, someone going over and like the editing and like the amount of editing that, is really required for like writing is, you know, yeah, it's not also as seen, but like those conversations where it's like, oh, like moving this sentence or like this isn't, clear because, the whole thing when like you're reading your own writing, you can't
yeah,
like catch your own mistakes, you have to, like read it backwards or like
yeah,
tricks like that. It's so true. Like you when you're reading your thing, you're like, this makes sense to me. You
yeah,
can't,
yeah,
as a single person, I think, truly edit your work. I would argue that, yeah, the editor is almost as important in that process of like, because it's truly like dialogue. Like, so you're saying like this, and then like you're saying it over and over, and then you can kind of really actually verbalize, and then like transferring that to writing is like so
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
right, because you have to like make it all very precise. So I would say, yeah, like the editing process is like a lot of that writing and editing and
Yeah.
relation
And
to
that would be
that
a
whole
beautiful thing
process.
to see, because like, I mean, unless you do it yourself or unless
Mm-hmm.
you are an editor, like, there's no there's like that boundary of entry where it's like you can't watch anyone do that unless you are doing it or you're in the room while someone's doing it. And it's like,
Right.
how small is that room usually, you know?
Yeah,
You're not gonna have some
yeah, because
random
it's
motherfucker be like, "Hey, you mind if I watch you edit your book?"
a shadow.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, 'cause it's like such a weird personal, like, and yeah, I used to get like very kind of like personally attached to your writing, so it's very much like, you're just sitting there, you're like a nervous wreck, and like someone is like, no, like, this, you're fine, like, this is fine, but just like fix this, like technical thing, and you're just
It's like,
like,
oh,
right, it's like
like,
a
oh, okay.
very emotive process, like personal.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
bet,
but
yeah, after a while, it's like a lot easier to separate that. But I can see, yeah, like having more like a room, a more wide like group of like an editing experience as being like probably a lot worse than just more, yeah, one on one. Having, yeah, being able to sit in on that has got to be really interesting because you're like seeing also a bunch of this language about like, because usually the person writing has like so much that they're like trying to get through,
oh
and it's
yeah.
like trying to like get all this like funnel everything into
Yeah.
a
It's
canal
like
of
concise.
language. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, trying to get it down there. How was it for you with your thesis? I remember you brought that up like a couple seconds ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like it gets a lot easier, but yeah, the editing process could be like, like I said, super like weirdly personal. Like you don't expect that. You're just like, but no, yeah, and but when it's like done, it does feel great, because you're like, people get they get it, it makes sense. Because like the worst thing is like when you're trying to like communicate something or it doesn't make sense or like you feel like you don't have like enough to back it up or something like that, and then like
Mm,
before like it kind of feels like shambly. But
yeah,
most of the
yeah.
time it's like, yeah, but that's more, I guess, for in local writing. I feel like there's a huge uh, difference in, more creative and fictional writing. You just have so much more.
Oh, poetic
Um,
writing where you can like you want to do that. You want to give fragments and
yeah, sentence fragments. You know what I mean? Bring those in. They're hilarious. But yeah, they're not like correct,
Yeah,
typically.
yeah. Not the best for like an informative kind of writing style. Which is
But
like,
it's one of those things too, probably where it's like you can do like that's the worst. It's like you can do informative writing, you can do anything.
would you find yourself writing more?
I mean, I've like journaled and I've been writing. Um, sort of almost every day for a couple of years, not like
Whoa.
creative, but
Yeah. No, that's strong as
sometimes,
fuck.
yeah, you'll just like, no, and like that, I think kind of keeps it a little like, just like constantly, keeping creative projects going, like kind of keeping writing going. But yeah, I would totally love to write about like shows or whatever, because it's like so interesting. I think conversation and so many art reviews are just so dry. Like even the
Well,
ones that are like not, like praising the art show and like bootlicking or whatever are still like
yeah, just kind of like
operating in that.
just writing about it in an objective type of way.
Right, yeah, it's not very fun like reading them. It's like, and especially if it's like an interesting or fun show, like you're reading, like it just sounds like adults writing these, and they're probably, I would, like it might be like fun people, but like the writing, it's just like this, it's not
Like,
fun.
the show was kind of good. They had this very descriptive type stuff.
Very, yeah, descriptive, and it's like operating within like this framework, or like how it operates in that framework. Or, sometimes they're like, intriguing, but yeah, it's like I feel like people are missing a chance to like kind of impart. Sometimes they kind of get that, where it's like imparting the experience of seeing the show
Ooh,
to
yeah.
someone else. You know what I mean? Like kind of
Put you in
like,
there, teleport you.
yeah, bring them up into that little like imaginal realm, like fictionalize a little bit, or like uh, bring it to life. To put
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's always. I feel like it's too easy for writing words, word combinations, all of that stuff to just like land dry. Like I was like the most illiterate motherfucker for forever, you know? And it was because
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that, you know?
yeah.
Like what I was interested in was like way beyond my reading comprehension level.
Right.
And I just like kept trying to like crash it into my brain, you know. But finally, I found some people that really tickle that sweet spot where it keeps my imagination like they keep it, you know, but they're also just injecting all of these new ideas. And like,
Right.
thank God, because like that shit sucks, you know. Whenever it's interesting stuff, but
Trying to
it's
like
dry
read
as hell.
theory. Yeah, it's like expansive, but it's like so insane. Like they're writing at an insane, frame of reference. You're just like who kind of helped you get into like who are these people that you're talking about? Were like certain writers made it like easier to digest and stuff?
Yeah, so I'm like, so I really like Carl Jung, you know, and this was my first introduction to like trying to read about the stuff that I'm interested in. Are you gonna pull out a little book? Which one is that one?
Oh, it's
Eh,
backwards, isn't it? I don't know.
oh, it's
It's
the
the
dream
dream
stuff.
interpretation one.
Ooh, yeah, he's hard to read. I had the book that was actually made to be easy to read by like the layperson, you know, and it was like
Right.
Man and His Symbols or something like that. And
Yeah.
I was a couple pages in the first chapter, and I was like, yeah, this shit's dense. So I had like a little book club for a little while, and we were all
Yeah,
just
it
like
makes it so much easier.
we're
Right.
throwing ideas all over the place, but it was still a little too juicy, you know. But the next guy that I started reading that helped me consume some of his stuff was James Hillman, and that's like a student of his,
Roman.
and he's
Oh,
like
okay.
fucking he's crazy. He's so poetic, wise old man archetype, like in a human body. And then another guy that I recently found is Richard something. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, my friends have been
No, Robert
recommending Robert
Johnson.
Johnson. That's a
You gotta
great
do the
cover.
YouTube thing.
Right, yeah. That's a great cover. I love this like rock
No, well, you can't see it.
Oh, you
Oh, but it's
can't. Oh,
called
there. Yeah, I
Inner
can't
Work.
see the title. Because yeah, my friends have been saying like, how can you even like have like, this person's just like doing like Lacan theory, but like reiterating it, like you have to read Lacan, blah blah blah. But like he's so hard to read. Like you can just read like Zizek's How to Read Lacan. So that's the one that I'm like looking for now. Apparently, like because I like Zizek's more I guess general like overviews because he's like a
Mm.
pretty chill. He's not too crazy, but what I'm reading right now, I guess, is more of like this almost historical overview of like everyone's work. So
Ooh,
it's a
yeah.
little
Yeah, I mean,
different, but I
there's always that weird compulsion to just like jump right in, you know? And it
mhm.
seems like that's what the process is, but I think it's a little misleading what it might seem like to like dive into all of these like crazy thoughts, you know? There needs to be way more context, and that takes so much more reading
Context,
than just
right?
having like the book, you know, that made culture. And it's like, whoa, that guy worked for years to make that book, you know. And it's like, yeah, you need the family of text that can contextualize it,
Oh,
whether that takes
yeah,
like the how to get into this motherfucker, you know. It's like it takes a lot. It takes a lot.
dude. There's so many philosophers, right? And like you said, they're all like they're like this conglomeration of just like they're just feeding off of each other's work. So it's like you can't understand one without reading like his 10 predecessors or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Or even knowing about the time that they wrote stuff in.
yeah,
But
exactly. But the only I guess philosopher that I've been able to read, which is kind of embarrassing, but it's like I'm
Nerd.
is Camille Paglia. You know Camille Paglia?
No, I don't know who that is. You got the
She's
names in here. Camille.
she's insane.
You said Paglia?
She's this like
Oh, there we
I
go.
mean, she's definitely she says some fuck shit, you know what I mean? Like but it's like hard to take her
Nice.
seriously, you know what I mean? Like her contemporaneous stuff is a little like, she loves bringing her personal into her theory. She's always like, I'm a strong Italian woman from New York. Women are stupid, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Oh shit.
but she's like, they're stupid because they don't know that they have this whole like power of whatever. Like they have all this like, intrinsic stuff, and they don't know how to play their cards. Like they have all of this like, and then she's really, I mean, interesting to read. I don't agree with like 40 to 50% of her stuff, but she contextualizes everything within art history. So it's a
Uh,
really like just these primordial theories of like, I guess, the work from like this time period was like playing within like the dark water of the subconscious, which is this like, she comes up with all these concepts like Dionysian, like, you know, like um, sort of like the liquids of the body and experience. It's very like tied to like the earth and the ocean and
oh,
things
so
like that. Very
she's like a
void.
poetic writer.
Yeah, and very image centered, which is
Yeah. No, yeah.
great because you can really kind of and so yeah, it's like maybe not all of her stuff really uh, can be taken direct at face value, but so much of it plays into these like streams of or patterns of human relation to the aesthetic and the visual and how that plays into like cultural values just kind of throughout history. She loves doing these huge like historic and like analytical projects from like
Yeah.
Egyptian and like they had a very like Apollonian like sky relationship, and then like certain cultures had a very like earth
And she writes from like a feminist like lens or
Sort of,
perspective, or
yeah. There's a lot of, and this is why a lot of people hate her, man, because she inserts a lot of just like random gender stuff that,
no, I mean
like she'll
that's
insert
like
gender stuff into a lot of these like principles she comes up with. And everyone's like, this is a binary, but it's like in a way, but it's just kind of like different, like they're sort of just natural binaries or whatever that are just
no,
like
yeah. I mean,
all encompassing.
in human like consciousness, culture making, symbolism, like
Yeah.
starting early on, all we had was like, you just know gender for sure, and like masculine and feminine, and those are like, and it's interesting that she writes about this stuff because it reminds me of James Hillman, but I don't know, he just covered so much stuff, so I can't even say I know
I bet
that's
with
like,
the symbols and things like Young,
yeah,
I think she brings in people, but she doesn't use them to sort of back all of her stuff. She definitely probably writes within a certain other past philosophers framework probably, but
uh,
it's not like, oh, in reference to Lacan, like 20 pages.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the subtext is like it's like this big. It's like huge.
My God. No, yeah, but I bet, yeah, and I love to get into more, like Jungian. You said Hillman
Yeah,
was the student of Charles Jung.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Colin.
sort of symbology and like subconscious
Yeah, that
stuff
stuff is
is
so
interesting.
important, and I'm like stupid interested in that right now, just 'cause like not only the amount of like fuel it has for just being a better person in terms of like understanding yourself like one to one, like there's the potential to be your own like therapist if you can be very frank and like really read your images and know how you think with what like unconscious is telling you. But beyond that, you can also be like an ultimately creative person. Like if you look into like the life of Carl Jung, he is he's like a crazy creative person because he wasn't just your average psychologist who like looked at other people. Like he
Mm,
had a practice, that he upheld to like I don't know, dive into his own brain and like look around with like a little flashlight, and he interacted with like dream symbols and also like this weird active imagination stuff. And he was like he wasn't the armchair type. He was
mhm.
wrestling with all of his demons too, you know?
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, like Freud, I guess, is the ultimate example of like,
I don't know much about Freud, but I probably should.
well, I guess they were kind of, you
No, they were
know,
buddies
right,
until they
in
weren't.
conversation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, he was so like a not very like self-inflecting in his own work. I would argue it was like uh, cultural, societal, and then like
Mm.
specific clientele uh, analyzing to probably like a fault. Like so much of his work is so kind of probably the inverse of Jung in the sense that it's like
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah. I've seen people comment on that.
right. It's so analytical and specific that it's like it doesn't take into account maybe more of the because it's like, oh, it is childhood, but it's also like so structured. But it's like one could argue that that structure is like needed for um, a more blanket type of analyzing, like all the childhood stuff was very new and but like you're not going to get everything right, I guess. But
Yeah,
so much of
yeah.
his stuff was so like studying the like 4 stages of development, very, very scientific, which at the time really solidified sociology, like psychology as a kind of like a science.
Oh
But I think it
yeah.
probably also like was a little bit of a detriment because you're like really trying to pigeonhole.
Yeah, yeah. You're like holding down this thing that's just like, whoop. you know, it's like you can't treat it.
Do we get kicked out?
No, yeah, ran the clock.
Oh, because yeah, they do the like 40-minute room or whatever thingies.
Yeah, yeah, adds a little bit of novelty. Maybe I should pay for it. Who knows? We'll see how long this
Yeah,
lasts.
right.
But yeah, yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah,
the
you can't.
bounds of the mind.
Yeah, yeah, you can't just contain like all of this like perception, all of that. It's a little I think dangerous to ground such a vast thing and treat it like a mechanism, because like it's there's so much irrationality like in the subconscious. You can't just nail shit down like that. You have to treat it
Yeah,
on its own terms.
yeah, it's like uh useful to a point where it's like, okay, analyzing childhood development is like definitely super important. But then yeah, at the same
Yeah.
time, like, you could get into the whole analyzing his studies weren't necessarily super sound because he was mainly working with super um, problematic patients in some cases, or like, he wasn't statistically sending out a super wide net of people to study for a lot of his theories. And then he was just doing coke all the time in the beginning and like just really spitting it out. So there's like a lot, I feel like, of probably, conflation in that sense. Um, but it's like some things ring true. Like, you hit a piece of gold, when you're
Yeah.
like working with so much of that sort of, and like I think he did got into this a lot as well, but like the dream interpretation I think is really cool. I've had some of my dreams interpreted and it's kind of like crazy because when someone's like right, if someone's explaining their dream to you, you're kind of like what, but when you kind of like get into what kind of things can mean, and it's not so much of like like, oh, like something happened to you in your dream, like what does that mean, so it just shows up, but it's like, how do you in your dream like respond to inputs
Yeah,
as
yeah. How
well
do you
as
feel? What symbols? What do your dream symbols mean? Because that's like, yeesh. People just make shit up. Like it's a crazy thing. Even the
right,
least
no
creative
holds
person.
barred, man, you're
Yeah.
just doing whatever you want.
Yeah, and I think now what's happening is that, or what needs to happen. I think it wants to happen. I don't know if it is happening, but what wants to happen is the empowerment of the individual to feel, to understand how like vastly creative they are. Like no matter who they are, they could be I don't know, mailman, and some people will be like, oh, I'm not a creative person. I don't have anything to contribute, and then they fall into the category of like just straight up consumer, and like what neoliberalism loves that. It loves
Right.
whenever a person is just a consumer and they just buy shit, and
Mhm.
I feel like people realizing that they are like just this huge abyss of just stuff, they can become a little bit more empowered as a person, and they have more value. They can contribute, or at least have the idea that they can contribute. What they think matters. They matter themselves, even at their most mundane and boring self, which kind of ties back to the stuff that I'm interested in.
Totally. Like I love that type of like sort of late 90s, early 2000s, LA maybe, like just, very American, like not super aesthetic looking, just like type of photography or whatever, where it's just so just random, a little like what's the word? I guess kind of Lynchian. I feel like David Lynch plays a lot into that sense of like taking the mundane and then just like completely adding, you know, a little
You
bit of
said
like,
David Lucy? Or
oh,
Lucci?
Lynch, the director,
Oh, there we
David
go.
Lynch. Yeah, I don't know if it keeps it, but like that like just, adding this sort of superscript around the mundane of like, which I think, is probably the most
Yeah, it's like you can't fluff that stuff.
aesthetics or whatever that.
Oh, hold on, you're freezing up a little bit. Okay, there we go.
You're in? Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
mine's unstable too. My internet.
Hey, we out
We're both
here.
flying. We're just hitting the wind, you know,
Yeah.
sailing through.
But yeah, yeah, you're saying David Lynch, it's just like it is what it is type thing. It's not fluff.
Yeah, like suspense using the mundane, like, visually sort of, um, yeah, unappealing or mundane or whatever it may be, but like you can kind of add whatever you want to that. You can make it super visually applicable to like a wide audience, I think, as well. Because
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
sort of familiar with these things. It's a little bit uncanny valley, it's like
Ooh.
these liminal, like, just like, uh,
Oh,
yeah, like hotel rooms, it's just like,
yeah, yeah. So
like you're
super
familiar,
average,
but
but it's like eerie or like
eerie, exactly,
and
detached.
these yeah, and that's the power of that stuff, like it's far too often like things have to be done up for like I don't know, shock value is like the most profitable thing. And then things end up just existing for that, and then that's how you have social media, you have all of this extra stuff, and then inherently people just strive to become extra because that's what like brings in attention, and attention is worth more than money now, and
Exactly.
I like people have to be anti that or else culture is just going to be shit, like I feel like TikTok is a good indicator of that, where you have these like
Yeah.
hyper trends, like shit just turns over. They're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And it's never even a cult. The culture becomes just like fads. It's a culture of fads, and that's
Yeah.
not good for the soul at all.
Yeah. I mean, that like, I guess what you're kind of bringing up, the fashion a little bit on TikTok of these sort of micro fads or whatever. Everyone's kind of exposing the, I've heard, you hear a lot about the trend cycle of whatever. It's usually 20 or 30 years, like, the 70s will be back, or like, what is it? Where the 2020s. So, the late 90s, early, like the Y2K era was back last year because the 20-year cycle, all of this stuff that has just been exacerbated by things like TikTok and people talking about the trend cycle. So now they're like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
everyone's a marketing person.
Twee is next, or like Zoe Edition, like early 2010s, like all of this early hipster, and now everyone's getting into the, what is it, the Cobra, um, like that, indie sleaze vibe from the hipsters, like
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago. And it's like, I think also probably now that like, vintage and like wanting to kind of uh, recycle clothing is like a really big thing as well. It's kind of exacerbating that, to, I don't want to say like in a positive negative way, but it's definitely making people like very aware of something that maybe just fashion people kind of were aware of before.
Yeah. I mean, and the fashion people speak to that whole thing of like, the fashion came from like there was lore to it, like I'm sure the punk scene, so like a couple of them wrote like they were hyper focused on the punk manifesto, or like all of these trends like even I think in '90s, like I don't know too much about fashion, but like that '90s aesthetic that's like super colorful, even that had roots somewhere. You can like
Right.
really trace it back to like the rich culture, and now it's like late capitalism, neoliberalism is like there's just
Mm,
like no substance to any of it, and no one knows why it's trending. But they're like, oh, it's right. They're like cryptocurrency people, but for like trends,
right.
they're like, we
Right.
don't know why we're investing in any of our time in it, but like put your time in it. It's fresh now. Catch it before you miss it. And then the next thing comes out, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and it's like
Yeah.
slow down. It's like, why are you doing this? Why? Do you
Speed
like it?
is right. Yeah. Speed is crazy, crazy fast now. Information, production, ingestion, and then being like just the cycle of people, yeah, kind of for everything, like
Yeah,
this general
yeah,
thing. Information, like news cycles, trends
yeah.
now, it's all going so fast. It's like this like new Gutenberg press thing. Somebody said this. This isn't an original thought by me, but I'm just saying that
Hey.
the Gutenberg press created this uh with literacy on the rise and like just everything going to print, like books, people getting their hands on all of this new material, like just there's just like a wave of like bad shit happen. I think they said this on Red Scare or something, which is kind of, but it's like you got this huge wave of like all these like it's kind of like crazy stuff going on because like everybody was being informed or whatever, and like everybody was had like basically the sort of way that we were ingesting like the letters and things like that. Time had kind of compressed a little bit, and then it kind of I think needed to level out. I guess people got super excited and a bunch of schisms and religious stuff, Protestantism, yada yada. Moving forward to today with the technological boom, yeah, you get this huge, just like just a bunch of crazy stuff happening, and then I think it levels out after people kind of become more adjusted to
Oh
the new
man,
technologies that you have.
cannot wait for that. Just
Yeah, we are going to be reminiscing in the. I cannot wait to reminisce on this
no, yeah, that'll be the best case of like nostalgia.
because
Like,
then it's so
remember?
right, and then it's like it's. I love the fact, which is why you got to really try not to be a hater or whatever, because I love because people love just logical fallacy, like all of these new things that we're getting. Like I would even go as far as to argue artificial intelligence, because everyone's like, it's gonna, like it's gonna get out of control and out of our hands, whatever. But it's like you gotta kind of like take it in stride and just go like,
Oh yeah,
dude, it's fun, it's fresh, because
be in the
in 20
moment,
years, you never know what's gonna be the thing that like really catches or really like, is a marker of culture, like what people
especially now.
right,
You
what
just can't
people
tell
really
anymore.
choose to study or prioritize or whatever, put into the larger narrative. Nobody expected memes to be a academic and artistic
Oh yeah.
thing. Here we are.
Yeah, right. You have yeah, people talk really seriously about memes,
I used to, man,
and I
when I had
love
my meme
that.
account, it was crazy, crazy.
Oh, you're touching on some vital thoughts then.
From experience. It did get
Hey,
taken down last year,
oh,
but I'm over it.
we got to boycott whatever platform it was on.
Yeah, I was so over I was so mad at Instagram because
You hear that, Instagram? We
yeah,
hate you.
Yeah, personally hate Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, he's listening to us right now. We're talking to you.
Exactly. Um, no, but yeah, it's like that whole idea of like where to put your content, because it's like, now we're getting into the whole censorship thing, you know, with these large companies just kind of saying like, you can't post this, you can't say that, and at first it was like
Oh
a
yeah.
large fundamental net, but now it's getting like ridiculous,
And it's crazy. It's crazy how people like I don't. They're supporters of that, and it's like how I'm. I think it's good that you're able to have shitty people who can post on platforms, so they're there. You know that they're there, and you can see what they're talking about. If platforms start banning them, it's like weird. I mean, but then again, that's a tricky thing to manage. So I can understand the heat that's
Mm-hmm.
behind that, but I don't think that's the best thing to do. Because then I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Elon Musk, but I was interested in the idea of him like
With
opening.
Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, like just bringing people back. It's like I want to see what Trump's gonna tweet about. Like,
Right, like he, like, that's another thing. I feel like growing up with Trump, it's just kind of like, you don't take him seriously. I feel like nobody really took him seriously on either
yeah,
side,
yeah.
which
I
is, I
think
think,
there's
what we forget about.
there's a lot of coddling now, or
Right,
there's
right.
becoming a lot of coddling. People are like, what if those guys talk to this guy? And it's like they are. We just don't see it. We don't know what the fuck they're feeding in. Until they do something crazy. Like all the shit that's recently been happening, and they
Mm-hmm.
they they have their last words, and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? And there's no way
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, technology, it is a tool, just like everything else, just like the
Yeah.
human mind is a tool, or yada yada yada. But the fact that, yeah, like, you're pushing them off of arguably safer, more public sphere. But yeah, then you get things like uh, these more sort of alleyway, dark recesses of the internet that house more whatever aggressive stuff, or like,
Yeah.
what I forget what it was called, but like the ISIS app that you had to be invited onto. Remember that? I just recently remembered that existed, but they found, like, through an undercover operation, like, through a Facebook page of like some, soft extremists, they like made their app that you have to kind of get an invite to be allowed into.
uh,
And when you download it, it's just like ISIS extremist stuff, like chat boards and stuff like that. And they found that, and I'm like, it's that whole idea that's just like funneling,
yeah,
these
it's like
this thing. But it's like, if hey man, if ISIS gets their own app, like, why can't we have an unrestricted sort of like forum for just like everybody, or like
yeah, yeah.
memes or something like that? Like, I was very interested in the idea of like, why, can't we just post inappropriate stuff? You know what I mean? And like, where could that be? Because, like, there's like the older forums, I guess, older websites, but I feel like they're not as
It's not relevant. It's not in
right,
the. It's not
right.
right here. It's like all the way over there. You
Yeah,
know.
because that was what was so great about Instagram, in the sense that like everybody has it. So, you can like post something super niche, and you can get that niche group of people for your super specific selectuals account. Or you just, can get this great general meme about like current event or whatever. Like, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
very great dichotomy there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it being available and accessible for everyone is good for like just like public record. I love the oh well, it's probably like well yeah I do like I love the idea of like information being recorded online. As terrible as that sounds,
I know,
But
right? It's like it archived stuff, like it's
yeah, yeah,
there.
archival. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so long as I know where all of that is and I have access to it, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfectly fine with all my stuff being out there, so long as, yeah, of course there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done about like maybe profiting off of your own information, instead of these companies just being like, I'll take that, like thank you, and I'll sell it to that guy, you know. Oh, you froze up. We'll wait. All right, we're back.
We got it?
Yeah. But yeah.
I heard up till the like, Instagram's great, like an archive that you can kind of save,
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the information being there is good to the extent
Mm-hmm.
that you have access to it and you can see what's happening to it. But of course, things need to change with like buying and selling of people's information like without them knowing. But I mean, as far as the
Mm-hmm.
rest of that archival stuff goes, I think it's super important. That way you see progress, I hate the idea of people deleting stuff, or that new feature that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
introduced to like iMessage, where you can like edit messages or like delete them before like before they're permanent.
Yeah, I heard about
It's
this. You
like
can right, you can delete so that you can shrink
yeah,
conversations or
or like
whatever, and
edit.
that.
I don't like taking.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that you can take stuff back. It's getting further and further away from like actual speech, which is like important. Like you
Mm-hmm.
need to like you have to be able to say make mistakes, and have that there, you know, and learn from it. And people
Right.
need to know
Then
how
that
to
gets.
interact with that.
Yeah. No, I think that's really interesting in the sense of the dichotomy between, like what a conversation, like an inner, saying something to somebody in person or this in
Yeah, yeah.
person, and then saying something to somebody online, like the difference. We, I think, are straying further from God's light. We, in the sense that we are separating the two forms of conversation, I think a
Yeah,
lot with this,
yeah.
what you're saying, these new developments.
No,
And
yeah, yeah.
people, yeah, totally speak differently, online. I mean, online bullying, and people just say whatever they want. And then this kind of types of features allow you to redact
Yeah,
things.
right. It's like,
That's,
oh, you're a fucker, and it's like, oh, it's like, did they see it? And then you like take it back. Like,
it's insane uh impermanence,
yeah, I think it'll be even more weird for you know how like you have influencers who I remember I saw like this like it was posted on Twitter, and it was these two YouTubers and they were live, and one guy was interacting with like the crowd, and then the other guy comes in from the side. Oh, did you pause, or are you still with me? No. Take the opportunity then. Oh man, I need to get better. I
you
gotta get
got
better
it.
Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is
Yeah, my
like trash.
computer's been having issues too. Oof,
Yeah,
it's
but
the
I guess
worst,
we'll get this
truly.
point. We'll get this point done, and then we'll say our goodbyes.
Do the wrap up.
Yeah, but
and and I heard up to these two YouTubers were.
oh yeah, yeah. So it was posted on Twitter. They were talking. One was interacting with like people live, and then the other one was like off camera. He didn't know what was going on, and he dropped like the F slur bomb. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then he said that, and then the guy was like, "Oh!" And then he just broke out, and like
Yeah, freaked
closed it, and then
out. Yeah.
they had to post like an apology, which is like, you know, there's those apologies. I don't know how to feel about them. They feel so weird. It's like,
Mm,
but the fact that that happened and that was there, I kind of, I don't know. It shows that online interaction is like so artificial. Like the influencers, they're like they're like this, and people think that that's like the norm.
that's
It's like,
them, right?
yeah, it's like they close the camera and they turn into some fuckers, or they just turn into a completely different person. Not in the moral sense. They're just different. And I don't know. We're straying further from, like you said, God's light. Uh,
Yeah, this
whenever you
like this
have the
I
option to
think
take it away.
separation of right reality. I think that the word is like reality, like especially with younger kids, seeing these like influencers or yeah, YouTubers doing these like long live streams or like vlogs or like the content isn't like, them doing something like, I mean, sometimes it's like them playing a video game, but I think a lot of the times it's like, it's like the content is like them as like a person.
Yeah,
And
yeah, they're a brand.
they yeah, are a brand. So like, yeah, like they can't say anything wrong. They can't do anything like wrong or imperfect or immoral or anything. Because
Oh,
it's
you can keep
like
going. That's this book.
everyone is an entrepreneur and nobody is sane. The clout chase. It's like it's spreading. It's in the air.
Yeah, yeah. It's affecting the kids. Those poor bastards.
The
They can't just be
kids,
regular ass fuckers. You
yeah,
know?
they can't be perfect. They can't, and it's like, yeah, so like kind of, and hot take, like the fact that he is an asshole or he is a homophobe or whatever it may be isn't even kind of the point. The point is, yeah, that his like person is a brand, which I think has kind of been probably manifesting with celebrity becoming more intense. And I think that the sort of shift in probably what the late 90s with paparazzi, like kind of being uh mining celebrities for more and more content,
Mm,
catching them on their in their personal life more so that it's like they're always in the public eye. and
yeah.
and now that our new fixation of content is like vloggers and these people that are just like pumping it out
Yeah,
on
yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, you're getting this like you have to either be on all the time or you have to be like a perfect sort of uh, perfect like morally uh just like
It's like don't
puritanical
make a
person.
mistake, motherfucker, or else you will
Yeah, you
lose
can't
the
you can't
job.
ever slip up because yeah, then you're gonna get screen scrotted and
Yo, yeah, yeah.
receipts. Yeah,
And
it's
people are savages with that. They act as if their own moral compass is like God, And it's like, yeah, the guy is an asshole, but it's the result of, I don't know. It's such an interconnected, fucked up thing where
right,
viewers will
right.
crucify people, and then it propels these people to be even more hidden, from outside of the camera's view to be their assholey self. No, they just can't be genuine. There's no room
Yeah,
for genuine.
it's like the commun like McCarthyism, communism, like neighbors tattling on neighbors. Like you don't even we're almost being trained by this new type of technology and kind of content and everything where you don't even need to have whatever the FBI or the government or whatever it may be like watching and curtailing people because it's just going to be people doing that to other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like policing each other
People do that shit for
online.
sport, and it's not even so the person can become better. They just want them to die, you
Right, they
know?
just like want to be the person that catches, like some people, like I also find this very interesting as like a idea that people will like be moderators for like chats and stuff. They will on their free time just clean up chats. That's
What do you
kind of
mean?
crazy. Like
What do you
that's a
mean?
little policey to me. That's like a little bit of like an online police officer vibe. People are just like, can't say that, like
Oh yeah, yeah,
sifting
yeah.
through. I don't quite know what moderators do, but that sort of idea that like people online.
Yeah, it's like not an actual job. It's like
Right, it's like a hobby. That's
yeah.
the
Oh, we paused again. Ah. Oh, you come back. Nope. All right, we're back.
yeah,
Moderators doing it for fun. And it's like weird.
I guess a little fascistic. It's like maybe not in all cases, but I feel like yeah, some parts of our culture, yeah, very like people being very like personally fundamentalist, and structured for their
Yeah.
own kind of personal satisfaction.
And it's like a weird projection. Like the
Mm-hmm.
reason why people are so hard on people for making those mistakes, or they are those moderators, is because there's like that internal like hatred for mistake in themselves,
Mm-hmm.
like people who are hardest on others are people who have that inner voice that's just like, it's like you made a mistake, die, and it's like
Yeah,
what
there,
the
this like that this guy came into our like my work and was like kind of talking to everybody in the office and like trying to like I guess like do HR and stuff like that. But he's just this like super kooky British like psychologist guy. And he's like, well, yeah, so like someone, for example, was like, oh, like I get it to work late sometimes, like like I sleep in or blah blah blah. They're kind of like self-reprimanding. They're
Mm,
reprimanding themselves, and he was like, well, that's like a manifested projection of like the abject, or what is it, the something child, the like abject child or some of an A, but basically like, if you get like shamed for something kind of specific as a kid or this type of it'll like overcorrect itself in adulthood.
oh yeah, yeah, the
You know what I
overcompensate,
mean?
the callus that builds over it.
And you get that like you're reprimanding your kind of self as like a little,
Like
maybe a
I
bit of a
shouldn't I shouldn't be
soothe.
doing this still.
Right, like a bit of a soothing maybe thing, or just trying to kind of create a little bit of like order there, or like you just know that something kind of is wrong, so you're
Mm,
structuring it that way. But it's back to Freud, very
yo,
childhood thing.
run it up to the boy.
Looping back.
Yeah, but I mean, I have hope that this stuff is going to implode and
Oh
then
yeah,
just like be good, like you were
yeah.
saying
It's just like
before.
kind of everything corrects itself. We love to kind of treat this as like the end of.
Yeah, everyone's like, like some people are like, I don't even want to have kids, and
Yeah,
like the world's it's gonna get so fucked. It's like, why would I? It's like it's already fucked, friend. Like, you know,
it's
like
always going to be like this.
yeah,
We just know about more things happening concurrently because we have too much information almost.
yeah. It's like be the good that you want to see, king, queen,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
then and then it can be okay to have kids. Like it,
Yeah.
it'll correct itself. You just have
It
to
corrects itself.
work towards
And
it.
then, we have this period of like crazy whatever, and then we'll have a super subdued time frame. Because I feel like we already see this, like everyone's like unplugged, I feel like a little bit of prediction. Maybe everyone's gonna be like, like we have to create boundaries with technology and stuff like that. And like back to like, the whole meme where it's like go out and touch grass, like some sort of, like during the like, not to take it back again to like history, but during that
No.
whole like industrial revolution, all of this technology and the Enlightenment period of like the 1700s, 1800s, everyone was so kind of, there was so much information. We got
Yeah,
so much
it was a
information. Everyone
paradigm
was
shift.
exactly, and then everyone's going nuts, and then you get the Romanticism era of, I guess, art and writing, where everyone's just like, I'm going to the woods,
Yeah, they're like,
removing
whoa,
themselves
wait,
from
everything's
culture.
beautiful.
Like, do you know the writer, what, like Tao, like Tao, like, I forget his last name, but he wrote like something about leaving, that book about just kind of like removing yourself from culture. I really want to read it. I've heard like that he's kind of a proponent of that
No, yeah,
writer.
that'd be relevant. We're definitely in that in between phase between
Mm-hmm.
the uh, it's postmodernism basically and like whatever the fuck is
Right.
after.
I know everyone's saying postmodernism, but yeah, we're kind of in that
Post
postmodernism, like
whatever, yeah, yeah.
whatever.
It just needs to wrap up and we're like tail end and it's like no one's happy and everyone needs to just like find the meaning in the nature, the natural stuff. Get grounded. And then like you were saying, like those boundaries, like that's a lot. There's a lot to take note of in those like in the transition points from the past,
Mm-hmm,
when they were
mm-hmm.
going from that like yo all this stuff, and then it's like oof, it's like whoa, it's like that stuff was crazy, it's too much, and they kind of and then it blasts again, and then but that come down is important to like record, take note of, and
Totally.
implement.
Yeah.
Good
There's
lesson.
there's definitely stuff to learn and digest. And oh, I love the quote, like history isn't doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, yeah, like
Oh yeah, yeah, that's beautiful.
it's not like a parallel, but I think, yeah, with new technologies and things, we're
Yeah.
going to see, some interesting new lessons or whatever, but it's
Yeah,
gonna be fine.
there's the
Yeah,
archetypal basis underneath all of that, and
exactly, exactly.
but hey,
Human nature.
we'll end there. It was it was beautiful to talk to you.
Fun
Uh,
combo. Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty good. Now you gotta write a book.
This
Um,
is my new thing, you know.
yeah. I'm waiting for the release. I'll be the first reader. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to edit
so,
it with me, and then we can
oh,
record the
record it.
process?
Yo, all right. You got 3 hours.
Got it. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. Bye. I'll see you around.
Bye.
Bye.